So I found through the creative writing program at NYU that we writers continually come back to the hardest moments, the most defining ones, but we just frame the story differently a little bit every time. So this next poem is centered around one of the most challenging moments in my life, which was when I had anorexia in high school. I believe that our most vulnerable moments are our superpowers, and they push us to keep going so we all feel less alone. Dear 14-year-old me sitting on her grandmother's couch, arms crossed. You are here. Feel it. Body jelloing in your grandparents' house in summer, where even the oven talking is cold. Unwrap yourself. You are not a piece of candy or a scale or a pair of jeans, one size fits all. You are a girl who has not yet sung. That is okay. You are not okay, and that is okay. You will be okay. You will wake after this moment, hurrying, trying to find smallness in all things reflective, mirrors as your tongue-tied twin begging, I'm not sin, I'm song without movement. And how can that be when you are becoming a woman inside an object? A winking square, calling your curves too much of a daring feat. Stay still, it lullabies every hour. I will be here forever. But I am telling you, do not run up the stairs when your grandmother says, I wish I looked like you, to your sister sitting next to you. Your sister, the dancer. Do not run up the stairs when you are the one with anorexia and are measuring greatness by how much room is left between your pointer finger and your thumb around your wrist, because your wrist will crack in two one day. I can assure this, your wrist will crack from writing the same story down day after day, this bruised letter disguised as a daffodil, a gun, because aren't they the same things, bursting to become a body, and I am telling you to just sit. Sit on that lima bean couch so full-throated, so empty it is warm, wearing this wildness you call self-forgiveness. Thank you. My next poem is imagining my papa, who was in World War II as a lieutenant in Japan, and I'm imagining him in my dad's psych ward. My dad is a psychiatrist in Maine, and I often write about this father-son connection between generations. I don't know why, but I learned this recently in the last month that my papa, after World War II ended, was invited to a Japanese soldier's daughter's wedding and given a samurai sword, which has been blowing my mind of, can we call that forgiveness? Is it something past forgiveness after a war, after you've been on complete opposite sides, to be invited to a wedding? So this poem is called My Papa is Admitted to My Dad's Psych Ward After World War II. His head is a red balloon. Black Sharpie lies strung on half smile. No eyes, dribbling womb of wine. How forced laughter drafts hollow halls all white. Ground, sky, gowns, wounds wheeling. Untie we, the ceiling, and color why a war kiss birth certificate. Call the nurses. Untuck his past. Mash back bullet psalms, scooping Manila meat muck like blue shoeshine Sunday songs where palms sing Papa open. Caves fathering his son's mine. Papa's weeping unwoven sounds like jungle vines climbing into soldiers' spines, tears like grains of rice splicing metal bed frames, name it holy. Ghost. Cockroach in crouch. Unsettled in the monsoon of a man, he is a boy in a dam, whipping trigger finger jam into roses. Petals can grow back. Some nights he lathers out his own mouth with flying doves, soaped cherry blossoms. Rather taste my own tongue kneeling, drums Papa's running rum, spitting up tropical blood on shore. Rooms flick the twilight zone, close up eye of the beholder in bloom. A warped young woman bandaged so pretty in pain, patients throw feces on the flag. Wedge dad stitch needling patience into stripes sinning, not theirs. Survival is being folded over and over, squared into a triangle, told to sit in a wooden box above a wooden dresser while gunning to bleed, to walk, to talk limblessly. Human. Blur in Papa's night terrors. He is wholly awake. His seams reject his red balloon cheeks like cupping his brother's scream, so face it. We all blow up. Frayed clothesline on the throat of a feather. Filipino gray-haired girl gripping today. A pillow that looks like a sack of corn. Papa invited. A wedding in Japan. Masked bride. Gifts white sword. Divided, dad blinks. I cannot take back the cannons of my eyes now, howitzer. How it's her. Daughter, hurling, her wits, a howl. Thank you. All right. I see you, hi. Last poem is by Philip Levine. Do a clapping emoji if you know who Philip Levine is. Yay, Linda knows. Okay, this poem has followed me throughout the pandemic. And this is just about connection instead of division. And I love this poem so much. Last one of my set. Thank you guys so much. This has been amazing. Okay. What Work Is by Philip Levine. We stand in the rain in a long line waiting at Ford Highland Park for work. You know what work is. If you're old enough to read this, you know what work is, although you may not do it. Forget you. This is about waiting, shifting from one foot to another, feeling the light rain falling like mist into your hair, blurring your vision until you think you see your own brother ahead of you. Maybe 10 places. You rub your glasses with your fingers, and of course, it's someone else's brother. Narrower across the shoulders than yours, but with the same sad slouch. The grin that does not hide the stubbornness, the sad refusal to give in to rain, to the hours of wasted waiting, to the knowledge that somewhere ahead, a man is waiting who will say, no, we're not hiring today. For any reason he wants. You love your brother. Now suddenly you can hardly stand the love flooding you for your brother. who's not beside you or behind or ahead, because he's home trying to sleep off a miserable night shift at Cadillac so he can get up before noon to study his German. Works 8 hours a night so he can sing Wagner, the opera you hate the most, the worst music ever invented. How long has it been since you told him you loved him? Held his wide shoulders, opened your eyes wide and said those words, and maybe kissed his cheek. You've never done something so simple, so obvious. Not because you're too young or too dumb, not because you're jealous or even mean or incapable of crying in the presence of another man, no. Just because you don't know what work is. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Amanda. Our next reader is SARA JAWAD. SARA JAWAD is a senior now at South Portland High School and the author of the poem Young American, Also Arab, a piece that she worked on in the National Arts and Humanities Youth Programs, NAHYP, award-winning Young Writers and Leaders program at the Telling Room. It was first published in the Telling Room's anthology, Speak Up. She enjoys writing about her experiences as a new kid fitting into new countries, and this poem is about her life in Iraq, Syria, and the US. She believes in self-empowerment and never giving up. In her own words, writing this poem and explaining my journey was like a weight being lifted from my chest. I finally got to share my voice with the world. Let's give a warm welcome to SARA JAWAD.
Thank you so much for this humble welcoming. I am beyond thankful to be in here with you guys and just listening to your wonderful, wonderful Amanda poems that you wrote. Yes, in this poem that I wrote, I had a lot of difficulties trying to incorporate things that are personal and things that I wanted to share with the world. But then at the end, I came to a point where I wanted to just share my voice and just let it out and just give everyone a sense of what it was living in 3 different countries and how it feels to be in Sarah's shoes. So I hope you guys enjoy. Young American, Also Arab by me. Born into love and sacrifice. Her father, her Baba, once said, she was a child worth dying for. He risked his life to get her milk, to feed her bones, to grow her heart. While bombs flew over their heads, her family pressed on in bravery. The crusade boomed outside the door. Her mother, warm, strong, a she-wolf, looked on, kept a peeled eye on her daughters. Her father, quiet in his selflessness, searched the rubble for hope, scoured the land to nourish the girls. He thought only of them, never of himself. I will do whatever it takes. The streets ran red in bloodshed. Her father's crusade came to a jarring halt. He was captured. Under the cover of twilight, he looked to the moon. Protect my daughters, he begged, and his prayer leapt into the sky. The girl is now 2, old enough to believe in miracles. She took her twin sister by the hand, looked up at their mother, barely reaching her knees, grabbing her abaya, the cloth that she wore to protect her from evilness and give her light, when she picked tomatoes on a street once of trees, now filled with ashes and despair. Out of the haunting stillness, her mother's phone rang. It was her husband's voice. Her bag of tomatoes dropped and scattered like marbles in the dirt. Where are you? She screamed silently. She clutched her abaya tight. Her eyes widened and shined like the light of a rising sun. Her father's voice, almost unrecognizable. Plan a way to come to Syria. He had escaped death. drawing courage from a place inside his chest. His precious girls in his racing mind. Adrenaline exploding from the soles of both feet, he ran towards the border, risking it all for the loves of his life. Fleeing. A 36-hour trip on a silent bus filled with bodies, stories floating through the air, faces. She had seen horrible things, strangers she somehow already knew. She could hear their eager hearts beating, arriving. At last, they could breathe, they exhaled. The greatest sigh of relief, her father appeared. Between his palms in prayer, waiting for them to arrive, uniting, embracing. Shedding tears of joy, a family, rescued from a brutal divide. It was here she lived her best life, 6 years, in an apartment that wasn't big enough, but with a brother who was always there for her. She was never scared. Her father, a mechanic and electrician, her mother threaded and did hair, under the care of a safe roof, a home built from strength, filled with love. Things started to change. Syria became her second bad place. The darkness crept once again. She was frightened, not for herself, but for her family that kept her sane. She heard gunshots roaring like hard rain, unsure if it was people paying respect for those dead or people being shot at, left for dead. Why, she thought. Yesterday, the whole country was laughing and dancing. Today, the land is quiet. Lives are being threatened. She worried for her life, for her family's life. She worried she might never hear their voices or her own again. At the age of 9, she fled yet again. Only this time, it was right. But it was hard. She couldn't speak English. Things were newer every day. A heaviness was in her breath. The girl was brave, braver than most, blossoming. She pushed her limits. She rode the waves. She lifted her head to the sky. Here I come. From a newcomer to a refugee to an immigrant to a shining citizen star, she was now every inch an American. She earned her rights. She respected herself. She evolved, never looking back. Today, that girl has a message. Build yourself. Create something. Be human. Pray. Become awakened. Be unsatisfied. Want more in life. Let yourself shift. Breathe. Breathe again. Be calm. Be generous with the love you give. With the love you give and with the love you give yourself. She lived twice and you can too. A young American, also Arab. Whew, thank you so much. That was just, whew. Okay. Now for my second poem. It's by Andy Bukuru. Rather he likes it or not. Andy, if you're seeing this or if you ever see this, he's my best friend. So yeah, he used to say that I don't like him and stuff, but I do. He's my best friend. His story really inspired me to understand what people went through in the world and to know that I was not alone going through hard times and tough times. So I hope it does the same for you. House Divided by Andy Bukuru. Some Americans think that Africa is just one country and not a continent. As an African immigrant, I get asked by Americans if I know someone just because he's from Africa, someone who is not even from the same country as me. They don't want to take the time to learn or search about Africa. A woman came up to me at church. She pointed to a man and asked me, "Do you know him?" "No," I answered back. "Does he know me?" I asked. She then asked the man if he knew me, but he did not. She was surprised. By that time, I knew that this was one of the Americans that did not bother doing research or learn about Africa. If Americans only knew that Africa wasn't just one country, but an entire continent with many countries and cities, if they knew that Africa is full of ethnicities, tribes, and different languages, you can find more than 20 different languages and cultures in just one country. Then imagine all the other countries in Africa. Instead, I get asked if I knew this person just because he said he's from Africa. She had no idea what country or tribe either of us was born. I am from a beautiful, small country located in the east of Africa called Burundi. The main languages spoken are French, Kirundi, and Swahili. My country also has different ethnicities, as do other countries in Africa. And the best two known in Burundi are Hutu and Tutsi. For the first 14 years of my life, I did not know how to tell the difference between the two ethnicities. I was taught that Belgians and Germans colonized my country. I was taught that the colonizers separated our ancestors by bringing the Hutu and Tutsi ethnicities to war with one another. But my classmates and I were never taught how to tell the difference between Tutsi and a Hutu. I do thank the Lord for not knowing how to tell the difference. For all of those 14 years of not knowing, I met some real nice friends who loved me and I loved them back. We did not care about our differing ethnicities because our parents made sure that the hate and separation the white Belgians and German colonizers created among us would end by not teaching the differences between Tutsis and Hutus, but by teaching us about them and both they came from. I would have lost a lot of friends if we were being taught how to recognize a Hutu or a Tutsi. In December 2014, my brother and sisters and I went to Rwanda on vacation to meet our parents. My father was coming from Mali, where he worked as a general. My mom fled Burundi in 2010 to the United States. I had busy, loving parents who worked hard to give us a better life. Most of the time, I lived with my siblings and without our parents. My older brother and Serge, who had worked for us for over 10 years, were the two people who took care of us when my parents were working outside of Burundi. Anyways, when we were on vacation, we hadn't had a trip when both parents were present in a while, and we were all having a good time. Suddenly, my father had a call from his Hutu friend who worked for the detention center and was supposed to call my father and tell him if any harm was being planned against my parents. He called my father and told him that Serge had been picked up at our house. He was the only house staff who would stay at our house when we were on vacation because my parents knew him and trusted him. The security and the other house staff would be sent home until we returned from vacation in Rwanda. The man told my father that Serge was being held in a detention center, and he did not know if he was going to come out of there alive. The detention centers were scary places, and once you went in there, you were dead or you either had a 10% chance of getting out. My father used to have an office inside the detention center in the early 90s. He knew he had to get Serge out as soon as possible, or else Serge would be dead in just 1 week. Unless Serge had given them what they wanted. They took Serge to interrogate him about my parents. He was a Hutu, and they thought that Serge would tell them all the things they had seen in our house for 10 years, and maybe even betray my family because we were Tutsi. When we first left for Rwanda, things were not bad in my country, between the Hutu and the Tutsi, who were often fighting for power. It was in 2015 that things got worse. I had been stuck in Rwanda since that December vacation. My father's friend told us there was a warning against us for not supporting the Hutu president and for going against him for his third term. We had to stay in Rwanda and Serge escaped detention after my parents made some calls. He was brutally beaten, and then we knew we could not go back to Burundi. We stayed on in Rwanda. We had to study there and leave our clothes and shoes there. We had to live in a small 4-bedroom rental house. Things got worse in Burundi. Some of my parents' friends who were politicians that were against the third term had fled Burundi as well. 2 of my father's friends and their family were brutally killed. Schools were shut down because the streets were not safe. Hutu people had started to go in the villages and they were killing the Tutsi people who were going against the third term. And they would only let them live if they were voting for the Hutu president. So many killings happened. My cousins and uncle were killed at their house. Markets were shut down. Parents who could not afford to pay for their children's education outside of Burundi had to let their smart child sit and stay at home. all of this happened because of the division the colonizers created between us. I started thinking of some of my Hutu friends whose parents were members of politics and could be killers of their own parents. I started hating them because I thought all Hutu people were bad, criminals, and killers. The hate inside my heart grew more and more as I saw on social media how my Hutu friends were having fun in their mansions while I was sitting in a rental house in a country that wasn't even mine. I hated my Hutu friends because of what their parents were doing. They had caused my family to flee and my cousins and uncles' deaths, and Serge getting tortured, and some of our family friends getting killed as well. I hated them because of how their parents had upset the peace in my life and my country to grab more power and keep one of their own as a president. I realized that I was becoming a monster. I had started discriminating, hating, and judging my friends for what their parents were doing. I started only being friends with Tutsi and pushing Hutu people away and talking them down. I was stereotyping and seeing all the Hutu people as a threat. I was wrong. I was so wrong. I had forgotten that Serge had worked for us for 10 years and he did not do any harm towards us. He loved us and took care of us when both of our parents were outside of the country. My father's good friend was Hutu as well, the one who always warned him when something bad was going to happen. I couldn't forget my best friend Gail and his family, who loved me and my family a lot, and all the other Hutu friends whose families were nice to my family and me. Europeans created the Hutu and Tutsi. The Hutu and Tutsi thing and colonized and divided our ancestors. My generation and me were not seeing the differences between us. Our parents made us have to face the differences and to tell Americans that Africa is a continent with many countries and tribes. And I want to tell my African people to expect to face racism from others unless we start uniting and loving each other and destroying the lie that the colonizers built in us when dividing us into ethnicities. Thank you so much. I loved his story. I learned so much, and I wish I could see him soon to thank him for letting me share his beautiful work. The other one that I'm going to share today, which is my last one, it's about my best friend, which I love to death, and she's been with me since I came here, ever since I came here. Her name is also Sarah, but mine is spelled without an H and hers is with an H, so that's how people tell the difference. And she also wears this beautiful headscarf. That's her picture. She wrote this wonderful story about getting a new sister in her life, which I'm her third sister now, but we don't say that. Her story is called Loudly Quiet by Sarah Hassan. My happiness was falling down like the yellow-orange leaves of fall. The trees were replacing old leaves with new ones, but I'm not a yellow-orange leaf yet. A year old is not ready to fall. They were loudly celebrating and I was quietly crying. It's fall and I know it, but I am not ready. I'm not ready for winter. It's cold, very cold. The attention was vanishing away from me. I was looking for a jacket, but not any jacket. I was looking for my mom's warm, affectionate hugs. The storm took everything with it. It left me feeling empty. Am I not important anymore? Seems like all they care about is my sister now. Listen, Habibti, which is my love. Don't copy what I do. Don't wear what I wear. Don't be me. I want to hurt her like cutting down a tree. But the birds were guarding it. I don't want her to be part of the family, but the birds were growing it. A family tree, but I am demolishing it. The flowers opened to return to what the storm has stolen. The flowers opened to replace hate into love. The flowers opened to make me feel related, returning attention to me. The tree grew up and the birds are still there. But this time, I don't want to hurt it. I don't want to cut it. I want to protect it. The birds taught me how to love this tree. The birds will always be there for me and for the tree. Ice can be solid and strong. It can also weaken and crack. just like having a sister who's almost your age. We're not twins by birth, but we are soul twins. I smell the air of spring, the fresh warm air. It feels like love knocking the door, waiting for someone to open it. I opened the door for love, embracing it. I was picking ways to love her, just like apple picking. I bit the apple and felt the warmness and sweetness of it. It felt just like having a sister. Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness, Sarah and Amanda, just amazing readings. The energy that comes off of both of you and the beauty of the work that you've read to us is astonishing. Thank you both, Amanda and Sarah. And I'm going to stand in, not nearly as well perhaps, for our third poet, who is KAITLYN Knight and cannot be here. KAITLYN Knight is the author of We Were Not Wolves, originally published in the Telling Rooms anthology Beyond the Picket Fence. At the time of that publication, KAITLYN was in her senior year of high school and looking forward to a college career. She pursued a degree in English at the University of Maine at Farmington, where she graduated in 2019. Before seeking a career working with young children who she adores and hopes will guide her in both life and writing. In her own words about her poem, We Were Not Wolves, which I am just going to read, is a poem that never left my heart after high school. The friends that I wrote about are people who I love, and though we all have our own lives now, we love to get together and remember simpler times like this. I remember writing the last stanza of this poem with so much fear at the idea of leaving behind these friends and the thought that I would need to create new bonds. In the years since, I've come to find that bonds as strong as these may seem to fade, but when it really matters, they always hold strong. We Were Not Wolves by KAITLYN Knight. Placed among faces with which I'm acquainted, I find a time when I was wild in a pack. The sun rested and lent the earth to its cooling brother. That blind eye looked down on 5 wolves, females, before our prime. The day was spent in celebration, as was the night, paws imprinted soft dirt. Headlong we raced, young tongues lolling, youthful eyes absorbing the moon-drowned road ahead. Crouched behind bushes, we lay in waiting. We waited for the light-filled eyes of our prey, speeding ever closer until our battle anthem rose behind us. We charged, pelts glinting ethereal dances to the sky. The car belted an energetic approval. Startled by the noise, we fled, only to return to the hunt later. We were not wolves, yet wild with our dim dances beside rural roads, not to be remembered nor found again. Alone, eyes glint only dimly, darkened orbs that distract from keen teeth. Precautioned people skirt left, right. I crave only the life I live with the moon and myself. Being a wolf, pelt dancing, being a girl, teeth clenched. And KAITLYN has updated this poem with a new poem that I doubt any of you have heard. It's called Legends. This is the sequel. She calls it a sequel. I heard a tale told on the wispy breath of stars of a pack of wolves, joyful and strong. 5 rippling pelts glowing with young fires, who by day ran as girls and by night never tired. Over the years they laughed and they grew, knowing forever a promise was true. Day by day, they loved each other more, with never a guess of what the years had in store. Fires grew ashy as sorrows would strike. The night held only questions of what the future was like, confused young children losing their friends, realizing all laughs and all promises could come to an end. One night, they all traveled in a land made of dreams. Then one strode away to a star with brighter gleam. The others kept on, though the air grew quite sharp. And some grew too cold with the pains and their art. Falling away, each path true to one. So, legend says, there ended their fun. Alone in a world where even the night was day, resisting all urges to come together and stay. So our dear pack faded, all memories blurred. But there is another ending, only the moon has heard. The wolf to the star, dizzy with fears and dreams and fright, made her own celebration where things could go right. Another who stumbled, falling to merciless glittering snow, raises and teaches and nurtures with a familiar glow. Two were lost sight of, gone quiet and far, though we wish them the best wherever they are. Then there was one I should know. She loves to tell tales of winds that would blow, of wild wolves fierce hunting with the moon, of nights where they cried together in gloom. She will tell you the faces, moon-drenched or sun-kissed, or of all the birthdays that have since been missed. Though most often you will find I speak of our love, does not fade, cannot die, by the star-blessed words above. That's for KAITLYN. And I will read the first poem in the anthology, just to fill out KAITLYN's time. I always like to read the first poem and the last poem, but I think I'll just read the first poem in this time. This poem is by Lulu Razor. I know Lulu, I've met her before. And it's called Grendel's Mother Takes the Mic. Do you all remember Grendel's mother from the poem Beowulf? She doesn't have a name, she just exists as Grendel's mother, like somebody's wife, right? Grendel's mother takes the mic. Listen up. I don't care for your petty battles, your forgettable epics. Your tongues can't pronounce my name, so don't even try. They say to name a thing is to tame a thing, so I'm safe from domestication. Just hand me that mic while you still can. A tooth for a tooth, an eye for an eye might not be your class of justice, but I make my own rule beneath the murk and algae, over silver darting slashes and the endless sway of reeds. Where's your hero now? Safely sleeping in dreams of victory? Your swords and soldiers can't hold me. I line my kitchen with the bones of kings. I won't pretend I'm here for parley or peace. We don't have diplomacy down in the mud and sludge. Teeth are the only treaty I know. I'm unnamed, untamed, unnatural, unloved, because I know the silent death of womanhood. Mother, sister, wife, daughter, lover, princess, queen, they stitch the world together when your honor slashes it apart. But who knows their names now? Tell me how it's worthwhile to follow rules when all you get is a gouge in the family tree. Names are overrated, legacies a scam. That's the harshest truth you only find alone at the bottom of a lake. And here's a secret. Wicked witches always have more fun. I'm going down, but I'll claw my way into your epics anyway, nameless as I am. Okay. Yay for this anthology. All right. And Is Jonathan Rugema here? Jonathan, are you here? I can't.
Yeah, I'm here.
You are here. Hello. You're
Hi.
not on video. Can you get yourself on
I'll
video?
do- Yes.
Excellent.
Um, um,
Jonathan Rugema is the author of A Different Kind of Battle, originally published in the Telling Rooms anthology Speak Up. He was born in Burundi and currently lives in Maine with his family. He graduated from high school in 2020. In 2019, he was featured on a Maine public radio show, Music That Moves Me. He is currently taking a gap year and working, but plans to enroll at Hassan University, fall of 2021, in audio engineering. So welcome to Jonathan Rugema.
I chose to read poems from the Young Writers and Leaders program at the Telling Room. I haven't forgotten. That was the first book that I was part of from the Telling Room, and my poem got picked, and it was featured in A New Land. And thank you so much for choosing me. But also, I'm gonna read 3 of the poems that inspires me from this book. The first one is Watermelon by Doa Al-Bayati. And this poem teaches me about family and reminds me about like food that I used to consume when I was like in Burundi. And when I have this type of food again here, how it feels like, the type of nostalgia like that it gives me. On hot nights in Baghdad, we used to sit in my parents' room, put the air conditioner on, and eat cheese and watermelon. My sisters and I used to gather around my mom while she cut it. Who was going to get the biggest slice? It was sweet like sugar, red like tomato, spongy and juicy. My mouth dripped like rain. Tiba, Mariam, Yusur, and I used to put our faces in front of the air conditioner to feel the cold air hitting our wet faces. The salt of the cheese and the sweet watermelon combined, giving me a taste I can't even describe. Cold watermelon with cheese, the best thing. My dad was there with us, I know that. I was always next to him, but I can't make a picture of it. I was so young when he was killed, I was 6. Here's what I remember. My dad's eyes were the color of honey. His hair was light brown. He was big and his shadow made me feel safe. He was the shining sun in my life. When I found out, I felt pain in my chest. I felt like I ate so much watermelon, I couldn't breathe. It tasted bitter. Thank you. That's the first one. My second poem is going to be The Songs of My Soul. And this is from Nathaniela Bikandu. And the reason why I chose these poems because I sing, and most people know me here because of like singing. I feel like singing made me like meet a lot of people and get more opportunities. So gives me that sense of passion and believing in a better outcome every time when I think about my goals. I let myself go. I let myself go learning the English songs. I let myself go singing in front of the church. I let myself go listening to Celine Dion. I let myself go harmonizing with my friends. I let myself go thinking I was singing the right words. I let myself go realizing that music was what made me who I am. I started in Angola listening to Toto in Portuguese. It started with a pink toy microphone. My mother gave it to me, and then it was her worst nightmare, bothering everyone, but I'll cry until she gave it back. It started with my sister. She was learning English in Angola. We listened to Celine Dion while we cleaned the house. The broom was my microphone. I learned all the moves until my mother woke up and told us to be quiet. We came to America. We left my sister behind. We came to America and English was so hard. I listened to songs on the school laptop. I learned the words. It made me so happy that everyone was listening to the same song. Instead of feeling left out, I fit in. When I was 16, singing became my comfort. When I was singing, my friend knew I was happy. When I was singing in church, we would harmonize. Then it all came together. The sound was big, as complete as the sound of the universe. I remember that day I led my first song. It had been difficult to practice, with lots of changing notes. That morning, I woke up and got ready. I was nervous. I prayed, God, please help me. This is a big deal. I remember my friends and I wore the same shirt, a black shirt that said "Made to Strive" in white letters. We were in the same uniform. We were ready to do this together. When it was time to sing, I found myself in the front, and they had stepped back. I closed my eyes and started singing. I remember the first words I sang showed my insecureness, but then I let myself go. I felt like it was not singing anymore. When I opened my eyes, everyone was so into the song and their worship. And now music is in English. Now it's in Maine. Now it's in front of the congregation. Now it's a desire. Now it's a passion. Now it is me. It is mine. Thank you. Now I'm gonna read my poem. The reason why I chose this author is because I feel like after what Nathaniel said, my poem follows to me because after knowing this, after singing, after being the singer, after being the artist, what's next? There's always another battle that you have to fight. And this poem to me, it just tells me that there's always another fight, but you just gotta be determined to conquer every time. A different kind of battle. There was always music all around. Gospel filled the morning air, half asleep and half awake, alluring and disturbing. Sent to bed at night, Gideon slept. Behind that door, I stayed up and listened to the energy and laughing. Stereo up kept me up. On Christmas Day, listening in church, I go in front of the choir, Erica's voice so soft and brave. It pulled me in, she pulled me in. Now on Saturdays, I sing with her. Years of Saturdays, I couldn't wait. Simple singing should grow to more complicated singing, from background to lead, from ease to hard. But no, not always. Teach me more. Just because your friends can sing doesn't mean that you can. I can't sing? Then why this passion? Why did you give me this? Brother, why do you cry? I cry for my passion. Listen to what I say. Listen to what I play. The end of the road begins a new one. The boys will lead to Mars. Mars will give you styles. I know your heart, trust it. Word gets around from choir to chorus, singing to playing guitar to piano, a different place, a different life, a new road, smooth and straight. Smooth and straight? Where do I go? Signposts of shoes flash endlessly. Family, expectation, my mind, my body, the pressure of creation. Who do I trust? Outside voices, inside voices. What was hard and easy is hard again. A different kind of hardness, a different kind of battle. And my last poem for the night is from Fatuma Muhammad. It's called Moving Forward. And I want to finish with this poem because, as the title says, moving forward is the best thing to do. Just like always, like have the feeling and the want to move forward and to learn more. I miss the laughter and the people that used to be in it. Back then, in the summer days, it was an enjoyable place to be, and the surroundings were full of happiness. Everybody was everywhere looking for something to do. I was a little kid then too. My neighborhood was a safe place where everyone knew each other. We had fun, and the games we played always left grins on our faces. It made us feel carefree. As the sun was going down and the day was becoming cooler, we would all come out and play kickball and soccer. When tired, we would rush to the swings and would wait until our parents would come and yell at us that it was time to go inside. Fatuma, it's getting dark out. Come right this moment. In the winter, everybody would wait until the snow would come and go sledding on the basketball court. We didn't worry about how cold it was. We lived in the moment. But as we grew up, we took on responsibilities. The place that once brought me a sense of community began to drift away. Conversations became short. We became so busy with our own lives that no one had time for each other. The smiles plastered on our faces slowly began to fade, not knowing what the future held for kids who didn't want to leave the place that brought us joy. We tried to stay connected, but the world had other plans for us. I think it was meant to be. The people that grew up with became people I once knew, but the memories will forever be within. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. That was beautiful. Very beautiful reading.
Thank you.
And our last reader will be Missouri Alice Williams. She is the author of the poem A Little Secret, which has been published in 2 other Telling Room books, How to Climb Trees and The Story I Want to Tell. She is still writing poetry and works as a teacher in Portland. She is about to launch Masterclass Music for Kids. Maybe you've already launched it, huh? A series of workshops that combine her love of teaching, theater, and music. Let's welcome Missouri Alice.
Thank you, Linda. Hi, everyone. My name is Missouri Alice Williams, the grand finale for tonight. Yes, I'm a teacher here in Portland, Maine. And then I also just recently launched my very own masterclass Music for Kids. You'll probably see it somewhere around Portland, all my flyers. I want to thank Linda and Molly so much for including me in this amazing book. And I will be reading 3 poems for you tonight. They're not all from A New Land. The first poem is about the governess that my dad and his siblings had, his family, when they were living in Italy. And surprisingly enough, I actually wrote this poem in the kitchen. And so, Aida by Missouri Alice Williams. An Egyptian woman, a second mother who loved kids and always smelled of suede. Her skin was dark. She had soft caramel eyes. She would always serve white wine and bananas for a snack after school. I've always remembered that my brothers and sisters and I would peel the bananas, dipping them in the white wine. As the wine dripped down, it made the banana moist. As I took a bite, I closed my eyes, and the only thing that was in my mind was the wet banana and Aida holding my hand as we crossed the streets of Italy. So that's the first poem. And I was actually interviewing my dad when I was sitting in the kitchen writing this. and writing down all of the little details that he would tell me about this woman. And that is actually where I came up with this. And it won a competition that was judged by the Poet Laureate Wes McNair. This next poem that I'm going to read is in the new anthology, A New Land. It's called A Little Secret. And this poem I actually wrote when I was 13. I was not in high school. And the character, the girl in it, is from my imagination. Being 13, I wanted to write about the bad girls. So not about the good ones, because I'm a good girl. So a little secret. There was this girl I knew. She wasn't very nice. I met her in high school. And all I can remember her doing is slithering that cigarette out of her mouth and going, and blowing a little secret to the boys. She had blonde curly hair. And then the next day, she had black curly hair. But the thing I remember the most is that whenever she would take off her leather jacket, all you would see were these huge things. And all the boys would go, Yahoo! So that one, like I said, the girl in it is completely from my imagination. But that one was really inspired by little me wanting to write about the girls who, a lot of girls who I saw walking around Portland with a cigarette hanging out of their mouth. And then this last poem of mine was influenced by my parents sending me a video of their raccoon problems that they have recently been having. They took a video of all these raccoons on their front porch around their door. And clearly they had been getting into the recycling and all that. And I actually wrote this poem in all but 5 minutes. And this was on Halloween night. And it's called Halloween Raccoon Takeover. A chill in the air. Dark four-legged shadows catch your eye. Hungry, unkept claws rip at recycling. The pounce and playing of cans set you racing to the window. Black, wild-striped thieves, eyes as dark as a jack-o'-lantern smile at midnight. A bush of leaves caused by an unseen tail tell you to draw back. From out of the night, 3 more sly, thick creatures scurry with delight. An ambush of rabid, fearless kids, all pawing at your door with a desperate cry that screams trick or treat. That's the third poem. Linda, I don't suppose I could end it now, or how much time do I still have?
You have time for another poem? Do you want to read another poem?
Sure, I'll just choose one from the book. This next poem is called Florida Sunshine by Raina Sparks. Tick-tock, load, shoot. Death was the hand that massaged his shoulders, built him up with cement and mortar and blood, fashioned his limbs, choked him, but allowed him to live. Pushed under the ground in the Florida sunshine 3 times, 4. Her mother brushed the tangles out of her hair in long, thick strokes, braided it, and tied it with a yellow bow. Her hair white canvas shoes, now a splotchy red lying out to dry in the Florida sunshine. Sunshine created by thousands of candles in the night. Rooms full of banned pages, because the only thing we can agree to ban in this country are pages. The footsteps in the hallway sound like they are made by granite. Education is not deciding whom to protect. They spit back like hot pepper on the ones that stay, on the ones that go. Crickets. We finally saw the faces of mothers with ash on their foreheads and red paint on their lips, and in purple ghost their eyes. 17, the number of breaths they took in the final heat wave of Florida sunshine.
Right. All right. Thank you, Missouri Alice. Beautiful. And what I would like, I don't know if it's possible to unmask, all of us unmask, and if we could all be unmuted so that we can give a nice round of applause to our readers.
Yep,
That's
I'm going to
great.
go ahead and unmute now.
Okay.
All right, we're all here.
We're all here. Yay, yay. You did it. You were amazing. You are wonderful. I am thrilled and so impressed with your work. I just wanted to read a little bit from a little book here to kind of inspire all of us about our writing as we go. It's from Rainer Maria Rilke's book, Letters to a Young Poet, which you probably have read. There is only one single way. Go into yourself. Search for the reason that bids you write. Find out whether it is spreading out its roots in the deepest places of your heart. Acknowledge to yourself whether you would have to die if it were denied you to write. This above all, ask yourself in the stillest hour of your night, must I write? Delve into yourself for a deep answer. And if this should be affirmative, if you may meet this earnest question with a strong and simple I must, then build your life according to this necessity. Your life, even into its most indifferent and slightest hour, must be a sign of this urge and a testimony to it. Then draw near to nature, then try like some first human being to say what you see and experience and love and lose. And so I'm so grateful to all of you for having read tonight. I hope that you will write many wonderful poems as you move forward. I hope to be reading your books being published in the future. I hope that you will continue singing and making music and teaching and being the delightful, alive, wonderful people that you have brought here tonight. And how lucky we are that we can Zoom and be together in this way, and how lucky I feel to have been with you as you read your writing. Thank you very much. And thank you to the audience for all of you who came. Have a good evening. I hate to say goodbye, but I'm going to. So good night. Take good care.